Well, it was getting kind of lonely for Colin and Penelope up at the top there, but Hyacinth and Gareth have just joined them in the best Bridgerton couples ranking. Ah! I loved this book. I loved this book. I do have to wonder though if it's a requirement amongst the Bridgerton women other than Francesca that they all have to go after men with daddy issues. Is that like did they have like a board meeting where they all discussed this and realized, no, we all have to go after the same type of man. They all have to have raging issues against their father. But either way, this book had it all. It had this bickering romance between these two people who really didn't want to like each other because everyone was setting them up together, but they ended up actually really liking each other and not really knowing how to deal with it. It had Lady Danbury. It had a heist. It had trauma that was slowly unraveled and like helped and like, you know, healed along the way. It had everything you could possibly want, including a man who was slowly losing the will to live as he fell in love with the most insane protagonist I've ever read, and I loved her. I will say that I related to Hyacinth most compared to any of the other Bridgerton females that I've read. I really saw a lot of myself in her, which I'm not sure is for the better or for the worse. But I also just adored the sheer depth of respect and love that they had for each other throughout the whole thing. Gareth knew that he was putting Hyacinth in slightly dangerous situations, but he was still so adamant that she was a capable human being and that he really couldn't say no to her because she would do it anyway, and so they might as well do it together because they're stronger together. And he admired her for all of the things that she thought were faults within herself. And I also really like the fact that Hyacinth had this idea that she was a hard to love person because she was outspoken and because she was opinionated, because she was so herself and independent and situated within her position in the world. And Gareth's immediate response to that is, no, you're not hard to love, you're actually very easy to love. But he also is aware that there are parts of her that are difficult to deal with a lot of the time. There are things that drive him crazy throughout the novel, and he makes it very clear that there are aspects of her that does drive him up the wall, but it's worth it to him. And he makes it so clear that no matter what she does and like no matter who she is, if she's herself, it is worth it to him. And Hyacinth herself is so strong and so clever and so wise to a degree, which probably comes from the fact that she has 7 older siblings who she's had to learn from and grow with her entire life. And the conflict in the book could have so easily stemmed from miscommunication, and I really felt that was where it was going, but it never did, because Hyacinth was smart enough to know exactly where the issues were, even if Gareth himself didn't realize it. They were so well suited for each other, and they balanced each other out, and they made each other better, which is just the best thing that you can do with a partner. And I adored all the scenes with Lady Danbury, and I especially really like how Julia Quinn has continued this like Whistledown-esque precursor to each chapter. In Francesca and with Eloise's book, it was with letters, and in Hyacinth's book, it was almost as if Lady Danbury and Hyacinth actually had written that novel they were talking about maybe writing, because each of the chapters started with the hero and the heroine, and it made me really happy and really felt like I was in a fairy tale romance. And not to continually shit on the worst Bridgerton book that I've read, but if you wanted to do like a fairy tale-esque romance with elements of like, you know, running around at midnight and a heist and like, you know, the hero and the heroine, then this is the way you do it, not with the crap that was Benedict's. Truthfully, there's very little I can find to fault with this book. I loved it. I really adored it. And I so sincerely hope that we manage to get to season 7 of Bridgerton, because I cannot wait to see this portrayed on screen. But now we come to the final book, which is Gregory and I believe Lucy? We'll see. But all I know about it is that it is apparently the most unhinged book in the whole thing, which is incredible, but also makes sense because Hyacinth was completely unhinged and her brother can only be worse. So, yay!